Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's masterclass as we're going to talk about how do you get rid of that nasty unsecured credit card debt. My name is Richard Amoydo. I am one of the co-founders of Investor Next Door Club, so I'm happy for you guys to be on. Feel free to drop anything in the chat that you want. The chat should be completely open to everyone to be able to drop in questions. I won't address them until the very end, but if you want to make sure they're not forgotten about and they do get addressed, then just go ahead and put a placeholder in there. But um, we will get started here in just a moment. I do want to take just a brief moment here and emphasize why at Investor Next Door Club we talk so much about personal finance, cash flow, net worth, debt. And the reason why is most people, there's a couple of reasons why they don't invest. And one big reason is they don't know how to, they don't know where to. So it's a knowledge piece, right? Then the other is they don't have additional income to invest. See, when you invest in private markets, that money's going into an asset that is not as liquid as the public stock markets, right? You could buy a stock today and you could sell it in a day or two or a week, whatever you want. It's a relatively liquid asset. But in the private markets, which produce higher returns, you're investing money that you don't need to live on for a period of time. That could be a year, it could be multiple years. Most of the high net worth people that we do business with, when they invest, they're parking money for 5 to 10 years in a private fund. And so most people, given all the stats and statistics that are out there, they're not in a position to do that. So we're meeting a need in the marketplace to get people prepared to become an investor, right? Because there's no one out there teaching people how to be private investors. Yes, there's gurus out there and people on there talking about fixing and flipping houses and things like that. But I want you to really think about some of the most powerful people in this country are investors, but they started at one point in time with no investments. And most of them did it through the private markets. So our job here is to make sure that our members are not burdened by debt. It doesn't mean you have to be debt free. You don't, if you don't want to pay off your house, don't pay off your house. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that your cash flow and your living expenses leave you room to live your life and to invest for the future. Because if you're not investing your money, then you're not getting any leverage and you can't save your way to retirement. And people are also learning more and more that what they have in their 401k isn't enough. People are really scared. They're going to outlive their retirement. They're going to outlive their money that they worked 45, 50 years for, and they're still going to not have enough. We want to go ahead and interrupt that. So we want to meet the need in the marketplace and help people become investors. Now, maybe it takes you a few months. Maybe it takes you several months. Maybe it takes you a year. I don't know. But if you don't start the journey, when do you actually get to do that, right? You know, they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Well, when's the next best time? Right now. So if you have been battling stuff with credit card debt, and we're going to focus a lot on credit card debt, but it's really anything that's unsecured. We're not talking about your car. We're not talking about your house. We're talking about that unsecured debt that you got based upon your credit score. Maybe it was a payday loan, something along those lines. We want to make sure that you know you have options because based on the stats that I'm going to cover here tonight, you're going to know that there's a real need and you could actually help somebody with this. So momentarily while I get the screen prepared. Fantastic. So tonight's workshop is just really about getting freedom from debt because it is one of those things that has just gotten people so strapped. And so what you're going to discover is a way to reduce your monthly payments by an average of $300 to $800 a month. Stop losing thousands of dollars, that you worked very hard to get and you've got nothing to show for it because you're paying these banks these crazy fees. Get a large portion of your debt permanently forgiven. And listen, we've spent a long time working with our partner on this, and he was going to be on here tonight, but he'll be with us, we believe, tomorrow. And the reason why I bring that up is because he had a family medical emergency. So I had to step in. But I am very well versed in dealing with this. I've referred people, I've counseled people, I've walked people through how they bundle up and get that debt because the credit card companies, they don't want you to ever pay it off. The other thing is cut your path of, to debt freedom in half. Now, do I mean cut your balances in half? No, but the time frame in half or even less. And you're going to learn there's a few different options. And then we just want you to be able to take complete control of your financial future and have no out-of-pocket expense. I've heard the programs out there where people are asking for money up front and then they run off with your money. You got to have someone that's trusted, invested, vetted. If you don't work with our people, then work with somebody else, but make sure they are trusted and vetted. Right now, unsecured debt is the biggest financial liability people have. Now, there's medical debt that's out there for people, but fortunately, there's been a lot of relief given for that. But what people are struggling with right now is one, they're using their credit cards to pay for daily expenses, which is kind of common because we kind of live in a cashless society. The problem with that is it doesn't get tracked as meticulously as if you were paying cash for things. So it becomes this sneaking it sneaks up on people and then they don't realize, oh my gosh, inflation's gone up and I'm using my card more, and then all of a sudden, wow, I spent a lot more than I made this month and now I've got this balance that I can't pay off. So it has become this looming issue for so many people. Now, there's an impact on marriages and families, even in individuals, but we're going to talk about families and marriages because, when Mary and I got together 24 years ago, well, married 24 years ago, before getting married, someone gave us some great advice. Said, listen, in your time together, you are probably going to have some marital issues. You're probably going to have some financial issues that come up. Never let those two bleed into one another. Keep them separate because your money problems can become your marriage problems where there was no marriage problem to begin with. So this is a big deal. Now, 42% of divorced couples cite credit card debt had a factor in their divorce. Now, it could have been a spending issue, could have just been the stress of all of it. 54% of people say a partner in debt is a major reason to consider divorce because someone's maybe spending way too much. Again, and then just proven heartache. Large unsecured debt leads to really associated with reduced marital stability. So because it creates stress, it creates sleepless nights, it creates arguments that wouldn't normally happen. So this is in my personal opinion, this is something that has to be addressed head on for people. There's an impact on physical health because if you're not getting great sleep, guess what? Your health is going to suffer. Sleep is a number one priority for health outside of your nutrition and fitness in general. But there's been so many different studies that have been done on this that show the financial health of somebody or their experience of what their finances are is dramatically going to play a role. So we've got this unsecured debt pandemic. We came out of a pandemic from 2020 that lasted for a couple, 2, 3 years, and people are still recovering from it. But here's the thing. People went into the COVID pandemic and they came out of it, and a lot of them came out of it a lot worse financially. And so they're still reeling the effects from everything that's happened over the past 6 years. And the acceleration has grown tremendously. We're almost at 1.3 trillion in credit card debt. There's over 500 billion increase since 2021. So that gives you an idea of what's happened since the pandemic for people, between interest rates rising, as well as inflation. And then people have been making less money depending on what career or what part of the country you're in. There's been a lot of compression going on in people's jobs. A lot of people are underemployed, even though they put out some pretty good job numbers not too long ago. A lot of people are still underemployed or they're working multiple jobs. So it has seriously gotten hard. Now, credit card delinquency rate has been increasing quarterly. So we know people are drowning in this. Now, the other thing is, when we look at the scale of the problem between 25 and 26, consumer debt is up, across the board. 18.57 trillion. Now that has a lot to do with housing as well. So that's mortgages as well as any kind of debt they're carrying. So we know the average household is carrying over $100,000 in some kind of debt. Now that's people that don't even own anything. They don't have a mortgage, but there are people that are carrying 15, 20, $30,000 in credit card debt. So it is really a significant portion because there are people that are spending 10, 15+% a month of their earnings going to some kind of debt payment that's paying a little bit of the principal and paying a whole lot of the interest. So we got to make sure that we get these Americans out of this unsecured debt. Now, who's carrying the most unsecured debt? Well, the age bracket that's been hit pretty hard, I think, is millennials. There's, that's kind of because they came out of college, they've been in the workforce, they've accumulated, credit cards. When you turn 18, what do? They start sending you credit card applications and they're automatically approved because they want to get you hooked on it. I remember when I was 18, my first card, I got a Capital One, still have that same Capital One, but all these companies, they know exactly what they're doing. They are grooming them from day one that they turn 18 years old because they know if they can get you using it, you're going to get real comfortable spending it, and then you're going to just do whatever you need to do to make the minimum payment. Now, I've been in the asset lending world, which is private finance, for a long time, and there's things that we can't do as asset lenders. Is we can't commit usury. Now, usury is managed by state, but typically it ranges anywhere between 12, I'll say 12 to 18%, depending on your state and depending on the industry. But I don't know of any state that allows someone to charge someone over 18%. Even when we're doing stuff commercially, we have to be mindful of some things around with usury. But what banks call competitive rates is at 18 to 29% APR. And you've seen probably some of the videos where they've been brought before Congress, and some of these executives and CEOs act like they have no idea what kind of profit they're making, or they don't even know what their average credit card rate is on their annual percentage rates. They have no clue. They act like they know nothing. It's just not true. They know exactly what they're doing. I don't know how this got deceived by the Congress, the banking, everything, but people don't realize that they are set up for a 30-year plus plan to get that done. So if you look at $30,000 of debt at 22% interest, 22% would be a pretty low interest rate. Making only the minimum payments, you're looking at a 30-year payoff plan. If you get your credit card bill, maybe you'll look at it tonight. You might even start seeing some stuff if your phone's listening. You'll start seeing all these different things come up. But you look at the back of it, and it'll tell you how long it'll take if you're just following their minimum payment plan. Because they only require usually about 2 to 3% of the principal to be paid. And then the rest is all interest that's stacked on top of that. So, and then you'll also notice it'll say, if you just paid an extra $30 a month, it would take it from 30 years to like 15 years. So a little bit of money above that minimum payment goes a long way to getting off debt, but we want you to get off there a whole lot sooner. Now, if you continue paying the minimums, it's going to stretch it out. And I know we live in this society where everyone's talking about, well, gosh, you got to have credit. It impacts my insurance. It impacts this, impacts my next car loan. Yes. And one of the best things that you can do is pay off your balances every single month. But you're on here tonight, and there's a good chance that that's just not the case. And it's been going on for years, maybe even decades. So there's definitely a way to do that. Now, there's a lot of options out there. One strategy is pay the minimums. That's a death sentence in my personal opinion. Then you've got debt consolidation. So pay close attention to this. With debt consolidation, you could be entering from you can be going from one frying pan to the next frying pan, because you could be in a situation where, you're just going from one high interest rate to another, but you're consolidating it. It's getting reconfigured. Now you just have one payment. They always love to sell it. You're going to have one payment. And again, you're still at a very high interest rate with a very long-term payout on that. So you want to make sure that these programs, most of the time, they're very, very predatory. The other thing about consolidation is, you may have to close those accounts, you may not. There's a number of things you got to ask. Now, if you've got a situation where your credit score is pretty good and you can get a 0% interest credit card for 6 months or longer and have 0% interest, you're going to pay a small fee for doing that. But if you're willing to like really stack and get a plan in motion and you're going to start hammering down, paying down that principal quickly, not making the minimums, then it's an option. It's not the best option for most people, but it is an option depending on your circumstances. Credit counseling, now, one, the interest keeps eating away at your finances, and credit counseling does not stop the interest from draining your paycheck. There's higher monthly payments than other programs, and it usually has a 5 to 6 year completion timeline. So it gets you out quicker, but at the same token, most of the time, the last thing you need is counseling. You need real solutions and real help. There's another flip side that somebody will give you. They'll say, well, do a home equity line of credit. I'm not saying that's bad, but I will say that most people, their home is the largest asset they own next to maybe their 401k for most people. And I just don't know if you should put that at risk. Banks will tell you it's very safe. Obviously, the interest rates are lower, but again, it's stretched out for, a long period of time. And yes, you got a lower interest rate, and it may stop a lot of the bleeding, but it probably doesn't get you to where you want to be as fast as you want to be. The worst case situation is filing for bankruptcies. Now, bankruptcy has a stigma, but it was put in place for a reason. Companies file bankruptcy all the time to recover, whether it's a Chapter 11 or Chapter 7. We won't go into the details of that, but it does, if you're in a real dire, situation to where no solution out there would help you get out from underneath that bondage and pressure, then bankruptcy does become a viable option. It does cost a little bit of money. There's a lot of constraints that come in. You are going to have to make your life financially very transparent to be able to do that. But it's also going to have a real sting on your credit report for at least 7 years. It could be on there in your public records for 20 years, but usually past the 7 year mark, it's not hurting you. Usually after another, I'd say 2 or 3 years into the program, you got good payments and maybe your income's increasing. It probably won't prevent you from getting a mortgage. It would probably prevent you possibly from getting an SBA loan, but it does, for the right set of circumstances, it might be right for some people, but it's not the first. It is a last resort, in my personal opinion. But what if there was another option? One that reduces your debt, lowers your payments, and gets you free fast. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. So we covered a few of these things as it pertained to, doing the minimum payments, consolidation, credit counseling, HELOCs, bankruptcy, and then you look at debt forgiveness. You go into a true settlement situation that avoids all that stuff to the left of that column. So interest is reduced, debt is forgiven, and you got monthly relief pretty rapidly to where you're freeing up hundreds of dollars to several hundreds of dollars, maybe even more depending on your situation. Asset risk, there's nothing. You're not putting anything at risk. You already have your credit, your personal credit at risk. It's probably already been dinged. So this is only going to get better over time, but it's not going to linger like a bankruptcy, for example. The credit impact, it's pretty minimal. Maybe for the first several months, it's not great. Maybe even for the first year. But bottom line is you're probably not needing to get additional credit when you're already burdened with so much, debt to begin with on the revolving side. So you're going to get past that season in a relatively quick period of time. And then the time to freedom is cut dramatically down. Their program is 30 years. This 48 months or less. We've seen people do it in a matter of 2 years, 3 years. If you find a way to create some additional side income that you can start to really go after it a whole lot quicker, that's only going to serve you well. But it's going to get you out of debt quicker. Now, 4 years seems like a long time. I hear people say this all the time. 6 years ago, it was 2020. 6 years gone by pretty quick. And the next 6 years are going to go by pretty quick. 4 years is going to go by even quicker. So it's not that long. And you're going to be able to free up your cash and you're going to be able to sleep better at night. So freedom through debt forgiveness looks like this. You got to have usually around 10,000 or more in unsecured debt. You're unable to pay off your debt in full within 6 months or less. Now, so that's pretty much just about everyone for mostly. Maybe you live on a fixed or a linear income or some kind of set income, salary, but even if you're self-employed, your income goes up and down, it's fine. Just know that you're looking at what is going to give me the relief the soonest. And then it's normal, you might think, well, it's normal to carry debt and sacrifice large percentages of your check. I don't think that's normal, and I don't think you should either, because this is something that got introduced to our culture a long time ago. We go to other countries and debt is unheard of. Here, people start to treat it like it's just a line item on the budget, and it's not supposed to be. So, how this changes everything for you. One, debt forgiveness. You get to pay back less than what you owe. Usually it's 20 to 40% knocked off. Someone else is going to negotiate that for you. You're not going to have to deal with that drama or that headache. You get a large chunk permanently forgiven, like I just mentioned. You get to break free from the full payment cycle, and then you get financial relief. You get to reduce monthly payments by $300 to $800, maybe more, and no more losing cash to crushing interest. You immediately improve your cash flow. That allows you to start building up some kind of reserves. Right now in America, 70% of people are paycheck to paycheck. 70% of people cannot handle a $1,000 emergency expense. I'll give you a real-time example. We were driving home from Houston over the weekend, Easter weekend, and something happened with my Suburban. Unexpectedly, we're 2.5 hours away from Dallas, and we can't find a tow truck. Well, we start getting people that are reaching back to us, and we had someone ask us for $1,800, $1,600. Finally found someone that did it for like $900 to put my Suburban on top of a flatbed to drive us back home to Dallas. Now, we were able to do that. How many people could do that? I mean, we were stranded. We were in the middle of between two towns. Like we were going nowhere. The car was not going to the next town. It had to be towed. And for most people, that could have been extremely devastating. Well, that could be, your refrigerator going out, your child gets sick. It could be something, the water heater. It could be your HVAC. It could be a number of things. So just know we want you to have that peace fund that's kind of like your emergency fund, just in case life throws you a curveball. But it's really hard to do when you're just trying to make the minimum payments and try to hang on. So we want you to enter into true freedom, debt free in 48 months or less. No longer being the bank slave, on a path to complete financial freedom. You get to live your God-given purpose without the bondage of this debt. So the program by the numbers, let's say your savings is $300 to $800. Interest rate during that program, 0%. 4 years or less to get free. And there's over 30,000 families and individuals that have gone through this program successfully over the past several years. So this is a viable, reputable program that could help you guys. Just some real results from the people that we've worked with this company. And there's, combined savings for people has been tremendous. The combined yearly savings has been almost $1 million. And then you look at the total program savings, it's actually huge, in the millions. People deserve a fresh start. And your debt forgiveness is really just a consultation away. Now, keep in mind, there is no cost to this. There's nothing for the consultation. There's nothing for them setting you up on a program. Literally no obligation. It is just a conversation. Now, tonight, we wanted to give you at least a high level aspect of this. And I do want to field some questions. If you guys have dropped any comments in there, I'll look at them here in just a minute. Josh should be with us tomorrow, and I really want to make sure that you guys get to hear directly from him. Um, you know, Character is a big deal for us, and competency is a big deal for us. So if this is, a situation that you are in that you were looking to do, we're not here at Investor Next Door Club. We're going to know nothing about it. It is literally going to be your ability to reach out directly to them, and they've agreed to work with our community to make sure that they are not getting charged for anything, that they're being taken care of just like a human being should be taken care of, with kindness, love, and respect and professionalism. So you guys will be able to hear from him tomorrow when we do the deep dive, assuming he's back from his trip. Otherwise, I got to dive back in here. But we've not released on our website yet the ability to schedule a consultation. But we will have that up once we do the session with Josh and his company. So I want to make sure you guys understand that. But you can go to investornextdoorclub.com/debt forgiveness. Covers a lot of the highlights that we just covered here. It is on the public side right now. Only our club members will have access to the scheduling calendar to connect with Josh and go through that. It's 100% confidential. I got to say this over and over again because I know this is a sensitive topic for people, and I get it. Mary and I have gone, throughout the years being an entrepreneur, we've hit different things that were challenging financially. We had to drop our pride. We had to get, support one way or the other and get on the other side of it. So we get it. And I just want you to know it's 100% confidential. We won't know anything about it. So it is going to be between you and them, and they will take care of you in regards to that. And then those of you that are in, the DFW area, or you have people in the DFW area and you're curious about what Investor Next Door Club is all about, we're going to do an inside look on April 16th. We did one March 15th. We had an incredible evening in spite of the looming storms. Had over 70 people come out there. They got to see what Investor Next Door Club was all about, how they could start learning to become an investor. And then some of them took action on that, and they're on that journey, on that road. So we just want you to be able to get access to things that you've normally been blocked from. That is why Investor Next Door Club exists, because what you don't know that you don't know about investing has kept you out of the loop, in the dark, and blocked from growing your money like the wealthy do. There is a large segment of the population that, unless they find a resource, they're never going to be taught how to truly leverage their money and kind of control their financial future. So anyway, those details are there. Again, that is also at investornextdoorclub.com/inside-look. There you go, right there. You'll find all of those details there. Sandy, if you don't mind, maybe drop those links in the comments. And then I'm going to drop over and just see what we might have for Q&A. We got a few pucks here. Let's see. All right. Thank you for putting that in there, Mary. Anyone have any questions or comments or concerns about what's all involved? I mean, you can be asking for a friend, a family member, what have you. Just know that, debt forgiveness is a real solution. It's legal. It's ethical. It's, I think some people are like, well, it's not ethical. It's like, well, it's not ethical, or it shouldn't even be legal that they get to charge usury rates because whatever, you had a dip in your income, you couldn't pay the balance off. I get there's interest on debt, but keep in mind, it should not be at a point where people are being drowning financially, and that's really what we're out to annihilate. We're gonna eliminate the bondage of debt. We're gonna eliminate financial limitations, not just with this program, but with our real estate investing programs, our other investing programs, because we've had the privilege for the past 20 years of being able to invest freely, just like any other high net worth individual, except none of them are teaching anybody, right? It's a small circle, and you got to be able to knock on the door a certain way to get in, to get a seat at the table. And our job here is to make sure everyone has a seat at the table that has a desire to grow their money, a desire to break free, because it's not about millions of dollars. But what it is about is you being able to live your life and possibly being a resource for somebody else that's in real need. What I have found with our circle of friends is and colleagues is we've become more generous over the years because we can because we're not worried about next month's pay. We're not worried about what's going to happen at the end of the year. I'm not worried about my tax bill. I'm not worried about this bill. We're focused on who can we help, and hopefully that's something that's of interest that you have a desire for as well. But one final ditch effort. Does anybody have any questions? I know we got people on here watching, and maybe you want to reach out privately. It's completely fine. But I do want to make sure. No, can we? You drop that in there? Can you drop the other one in there? Yes, the deep dive tomorrow's at noon Central Time. Um, That'll be done for the club members through your dashboard. So those of you that are club members, you'll be able to access it through your Investor Next Door dashboard. Click the live Zoom training, and then click the button, and you're going to be in. You're going to be in the Zoom. Drop the other link in there for the Investor Next Door, or I can go copy it real quick just so people do have it. Jump around a couple screens here. Listen, guys, I know it's a sensitive topic, but your well-being might be at stake. Your emotional, your spiritual, your everything, physical well-being, and we want to make sure you get the support that you need because when you start keeping more of your money, you're able to make better choices. You make better buying choices. You make better investing choices. You're able to create memories that you otherwise wouldn't be able to. And that's all we're trying to get across to you guys is that there's an option, there's a solution. So if the timing's not right now, completely fine. Just know that the way that we've structured this relationship is 100% for your benefit because it's key to our members being able to get on the roadmap so where they can get themselves to a position that they can start. And I've seen a lot of crazy programs out there, people asking for 5 and 10K, and they want them to put it on a credit card and then they're going to help them get out of their credit card debt. That doesn't make a lot of sense. So just know that we're doing this with the right intentions in mind. And the more you stick around and you get a chance to meet with Josh, you're going to understand what we're all about here. So, guys, have a great rest of your evening. Look forward to seeing you guys on the journey. Bye for now.